Go ahead and call the Tuesday, June 9th budget work session to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here. We have a full room. We also are recording live as well. So again, want to welcome everyone here. Board, just as a quick note, we've got a lot to cover today on the agenda. We're catching up on one item from yesterday, the fee schedule, and then we'll move into the items for today, starting with personnel and comp. Just again, just want to encourage everybody to keep their comments focused on the issue, and hopefully we reviewed the information and we've addressed some questions ahead of time. So at this time, I will ask to open the meeting with the invocation and pledge and ask Vice Chairman Jones to provide.
All those that can, please stand at this time. Heavenly Father, we just thank you. We thank you for the opportunity to serve for our community. We do not take this for granted. We ask that things be done in decency and order. We ask for safety for those that are fighting across the land and even those here at home, as we are the first largest military installation. We ask for our first responders to also be kept safe and their families, our teachers, our social workers, that of all law enforcement. And Lord Jesus, we just ask that all community leaders throughout Cumberland County and Fayetteville will unite and work together for the greater good of your people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll go ahead and move to item 1, approval of the agenda. County Manager Greer, anything to add to the agenda from your side?
No, sir.
Board, anything to add to the agenda? So, okay, we've got it updated. We've got the fee schedule on there. One item, Board, would like to add closed session for personnel matters. NCGS 143.318.11 A6. Anything else to add? All right, entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Vice Chairman Jones.
I move that we approve the agenda at this time.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the agenda with the additional closed session. Been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And Madam Clerk, can you check to, I know I spoke with Council earlier, and she was trying to come on.
She's going to try to get online. I gave her the link, but I'm waiting to hear back.
If we can just monitor to make sure, or have IT monitor to make sure she can connect in. She wanted to try to listen in to this work session. She watched the other one yesterday, and so was trying to connect into this virtually today. All right, this time we'll go ahead and move to item 2, budget work session presentation. County Manager Greer.
Yes, Chairman Devier. Today we start budget work session number 3. We have 2 carryover items from yesterday, budget work session, water and sewer CIP, fee changes schedules both for all funds, personnel and compensation, and then we go through the departmental budgets, fund balance, freed up capacity, ARP freed up capacity as part of the general fund balance, and then also community funding. So the first presentation will be water and sewer CIP. Assistant County Manager Faith Phillips will present this item and answer any questions you may have. Right.
Thank you, County Manager Greer. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
For this afternoon, I have information on our water and sewer CIP projects. I have Amanda Lee, General Manager for Natural Resources, is also here with us this afternoon, and we can help answer any questions that you may have. Here on this slide, we have the proposed CIP for the Kelly Hills and Norcrest Water and Sewer Districts. As you can see, there are no funds or CIP projects obligated in fiscal year 27 in the recommended budget. As we are working through our regionalization plans and the different studies we have going on, we are pausing CIP at this time for these 2 items as we continue to develop our regional approaches within the districts. We will continue to keep the board updated through our monthly updates on water and sewer-related initiatives at the agenda sessions. Are there any questions on these items? If not, I'll continue on.
Hold on one sec. Okay. Board, anything on this one? All right, please continue.
So here you see the water and sewer CIP projects for our Overhill CIP and our South Point CIP. For fiscal year '27, the recommended budget does include projects for both Overhills and South Point water systems. While we are working through merger and regionalization studies for Overhills, we do have a lift station that is in need of repair. We need to improve the hydraulics of the system by replacing the current vacuum prime pumps with submersible pumps. For the South Point system, we are seeking AMI, so that's automatic metering infrastructure, and they are compatible meters that will be consistent with the new Grays Creek water system. This will support us as we work through our regionalization efforts. Are there any questions on this slide?
Vice Chairman Jones recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we're discussing projects, you may or may not have this answer, or maybe it's going to be in one of the other slides. Has there been any money aside allocated for Shaw Heights to be looking into that particular area? I know that it keeps coming up at several meetings, so am I jumping ahead, or is that not going to be included in this budget?
So we don't have anything in this item for Shaw Heights. I know that in the agenda session for the project updates, I do believe Chief of Staff Vaught has a update for that for the agenda session. That will be the surveying, and once we get the surveying, we would plan from there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Thank you.
And that concludes the water and sewer CIP items. I can move to fee changes if the pleasure of the county manager and board.
Yes, we'd like to go ahead and move forward. If there are no other questions, we'd like to move forward with the fee changes, starting first with the other funds as a continuation from yesterday. And first it'll be the public utilities and solid waste.
Thank you, County Manager Greer. So here you will see proposed fee changes for the Kelly Hills Slocum Road sanitary sewer rates as well as the South Point water rates. So these rates are a next step in the fee changes that were approved as a part of a multi-year fee schedule in May of 2024 by the Board of Commissioners. The rate plans that were approved for both Kelly Hills and South Point approved a 5% increase per year through July 1 of 2027. So those are the rates for the water and sewer. And I can answer any questions on those.
Vice Chairman Jones, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do recall that at one of our meetings, we were discussing the fee rate changes, the concern issue, and was there a follow-up in regards to how this was going to impact individuals that perhaps were on programs that had to do with low income or fixed? Did we ever come back with that information? If so, I would like an update for our community, please.
Yes, ma'am. We are still looking into that information, specifically in with our Norcrest district. So we are still looking into that, but we will continue to look into that, and we will bring an update on that information.
I appreciate that if we could get that sooner than later, as many constituents that are seniors or on low income have been requesting that. And I know we talked about that 2 months ago, so I'd appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully by one of our next meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else, Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Questions on those initial two, board, outside of that? So this is just Kelly Hills and South Point Water. This was a multi-year rate increase that was put in place back in 2024.
May of 2024, and it went through July 1 of 2027.
And what is the, if we flatten the rates and didn't increase the rates and ended this rate structure, what's the impact?
Do you want to help me with that one?
Or if we altered the rate plan that has been put in place to try to flatten it based on current economic position?
Okay, so first of all, with the Overhills District, we are still negotiating with Spring Lake on some revisions to their wholesale fee structure that we will be bringing for Kelly Hills and I'm sorry. Further, okay, sorry. We're talking about Kelly Hills and South Point. Okay, for South Point, that is very closely tied to the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District. And we are looking at making that Grays Creek Water and Sewer District a financially viable district, especially in its infancy stages that we're working on now. We have worked hard to keep the rate structure for the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District in line with South Point. That has provided our basis for utility bills. So it is a significant rate structure as we look at the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District and its relationship with South Point.
So I think my question is, if we flattened it, so right now the current rate, let's just take South Point, is $3.49. We're going to increase it to $3.66. What's that total dollar amount? What's that impact based on our current users? And is there an impact if we suspended the rate increase, or paused, there's a word, paused the rate increase for a year and then readjusted the rate increases?
I think that's something we could bring back as we look at our signups with Grays Creek and how we will be bringing on customers within the year. We could definitely look at that, and we could do the same with Kelly Hills.
Okay. Commissioners, other questions on Kelly Hills and South Point? Real quick, Assistant Manager Shaw.
So you would like for us to keep the current fee and see what the scenario would be and send that out to the board?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we want to understand if we flatten the rate, if we pause the rate increase, the dollar impact and what that would cause if we paused it and then look to restart at the same level it would be this year, next year, not take the next step.
May I ask a clarification on that?
Yes, ma'am.
When you said next year, you mean what we're asking for this year, we would do it?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
So FY27 would be FY28. It would just be a pause of a year of it, what the impact would be.
I can do that.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a follow-up to the chairman's discussion, I'd also like to see kind of, as we look at that, what impact that'll have on our CIP plan.
Okay.
I know in FY29, we're looking at a pretty major expenditure at South Point. So I'd like to kind of see if we did that, what impact would that have on that plan, if any?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Board, other questions on those two items? Okay, we can continue.
Okay. Next, if it's the manager and the board's pleasure, we would go to the solid waste fees. So with the solid waste fees, so in previous fiscal years, the solid waste team did very granular fee schedules, which in all honesty has been confusing for some customers and staff. This fiscal year, the department is working to make the fees more consistent across the board. The changes in the fee schedule that you see in front of you represent this move towards consistency, and then new fees for the transfer station when completed. In fiscal year 26, rates at $46 per ton were set for C&D. So C&D is construction and demolition waste. And then for MSW, which is municipal solid waste, so your everyday waste. The solid waste team did not bring all the changes into alignment with this at that time. The proposed shingles increase is to bring this cost into alignment with the $46 per ton for C&D. This fee for C&D, like I mentioned before, was set in the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. Excuse me, so this is cleaning up the fee schedule. This fee equates to $46 per ton or $2.30 per 100 pounds of waste. The proposed adjustment to the furniture rates is the same thing as shingles, only for furniture. And the furniture is classified as MSW to go into the lined landfill. This amount was set for MSW was set in the fiscal year 2026 budget. Again, the $46 per ton or $2.30 per 100 pounds. The recommended adjustment to the street sweeping is the same, bringing in line with the rate set with the MSW and ensuring consistent charges for the service. Street sweeping materials are classified as MSW.
Assistant Manager Phillips, just a quick question. Are there any changes to this
No, sir.
presentation or information you're giving to us that has not been updated, that wasn't previously in our packet?
No,
Okay.
sir.
So board, let's look at questions on solid waste fees. Commissioner Patel, and then I'll go to Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So looking at some of these fees and kind of looking on, going back to the question the chairman asked about the water fees for the 2 water districts and maybe taking a pause. Some of these, shingles are up 16%, furniture's up 15%, street sweeping's up, 2x. So is there potential to maybe find some middle ground over the next fiscal year?
You need to be very careful about our rate structure with different classifications of waste. Basically, we have 2 classifications of disposal at Ann Street Landfill. We have construction and demolition debris, and we have MSW. So overall, both fees are $46 per ton. And so these materials we're talking about are subsets. We're cleaning up our fee structure. So these should be designated already as C&D rates and MSW rates. This is an issue that we're trying to clean up in our lines. So the rates have been established as $46 a ton for C&D and $46 for MSW, and these are subsets of those materials.
So when were these rates established? Were they also back in 2024?
These, the $46 per ton were approved in the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know we've talked about this before, it may have been kind of around budget, but, for folks that are kind of looking at our budget documents and seeing, I know, looking at our solid waste fund, it looks like we have a large balance sitting in there. And so I know that we have a reason why we retain that balance. Can you kind of go over that so the folks in the room and the folks that are listening can kind of understand why we have that balance? And secondarily, I know there's a big increase proposed for the fund balance appropriation for this year that's much larger than what we've done in the past. Can you speak around that too?
Well, I'll try. The fund balance for solid waste is a lot because, number one, we have to maintain liability coverage. For one day, actually, it's a requirement of the statutes that we maintain the financial means to be able to close Ann Street if required today. And right now, our liabilities, I think last year, our post-closure liabilities were around $22 million. I'm speaking from memory here. I don't remember what that liability is in this current, the audit, in the current audit. But we will have to go through a process with solid waste to show that we can cover that cost for post-closure. Secondly, I am happy to report last week we received a permit to construct for our Bellefield expansion. That's for increased capacity. We have been working really hard with the landfill to have a pay-as-you-go approach. Part of that was in the CIP this year for the $2 million for the soil base layers for the new landfill cell construction. And we are looking in excess of $7 million for what we're calling the baby cell construction, which would be cell 10, so that we continue our operations at Ann Street. Otherwise, we are nearly out of capacity at Ann Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So our post-closure for costs for 2026, we're at $17,453,662. And those numbers are changing as we are looking at things like recovering Bellfield airspace, where before that may have been closure. Now we're not going to double count that as closure because we're kind of recycling that landfill. So $17,453,662. So we're continuing to plan for future expansions. We're having ongoing discussions with PWC about sewer main relocation and that sort of thing to account for future sales at Ann Street as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chairman Jones recognizes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Amanda, could you explain to our listening community how many locations we have at current, as you stated, that we will have expansions? But with that expansions, I know we have some things in the workings. How long will it take for the other facility to be open? Because we do have over about 350,000 people in our community, just so people can get a better understanding of the concept.
So what we are working on now is a transfer station. The transfer station will improve our ability to operate with the Bellfield expansion. Right now, we are working on Bellfield expansion directly from the Bellfield phase. In the future, we will have the transfer station to haul that waste to another facility so that we can prepare that area for construction area where we put the soil in place and begin the actual cell expansion. So over the next couple of years, we will be working on the construction. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the permit to construct now for the new cell. So we will begin that construction. We do not have the permit to operate for the transfer station. We are still pouring concrete. We're still erecting steel. We hope to have that in the fall, the permit to operate for the transfer station. But these are all options that enable the county to manage all the waste from our 350,000 citizens, commercial and residential.
And thank you both, and thank you and your team for what you do. We appreciate it.
Commissioners, other questions? Two quick. One, just concern, and I'm sure how we coordinate it, but we raise fees, people have issues, it causes potentially increase in illegal dumping across our community, especially as you move out into some unincorporated areas, as you look between Hope Mills and Fayetteville, that we've personally cleaned up with you all on one of the cleanups. We saw a lot of that illegal dumping. My concern is we need to look at the counterbalance, and County Manager Greer, I don't know if that's information campaign or what we're doing, but how are we talking about the illegal dumping of it and the enforcement of it as well, which is extremely difficult with the size of our inspection staff and who actually controls it, whether it's DOT or us. So that's one piece. And then, is there an estimated, based on this fee change, is there an estimated revenue increase for the enterprise fund based on these increases?
No, we've not implemented that yet until we get movement from the board.
So not even projecting out what the projected increase would be?
I think we provided those last year, and I'm not prepared to speak on the tonnage for these particular subsets.
Okay.
But in general, for like MSW, that increase, most of the residential waste is covered, or all the residential waste tipping fees are covered under the household increase. So only about 40% of the tonnage that we have coming in from MSW would be subject to that rate increase. And I just want to note, it's still considerably less than the other alternative in the city, which is the GFL transfer station, which has tipping fees, I want to say over $70. And so for C&D, we recover 100% of that cost, but again, we implemented most of that cost last year with these fee increases. So for C&D tonnage, that is highly dependent on what we see going on at Fort Bragg. And last year, I think our tonnage was elevated from that. I think you'll see our C&D tonnage on the order of somewhere between 60,000 to 80, I'd say 60,000 tons a year. Again, we set that rate last year. We're just cleaning up these subsets.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move, Commissioners, unless you have anything else, we'll go ahead and move to the fee changes for our animal services.
Yes, for the general fund and general governmental fee changes, Assistant County Managers Deborah Shaw will present these items and answer any questions you may have. We do have some of the department heads here to answer any specific questions you may have also. Deborah.
Good afternoon. Before you, this are the adoption fees. The slide has not been changed from what has been updated, and we will entertain any questions.
Perfect. All right, the manager
She got
Shaw.
I can take the
Pick
hints.
up what I'm
Okay.
putting down. Questions on fee changes, Vice Chairman Jones, and I'll go to Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I want to update in regards to, we get several calls. I know that we do have some more staff when it comes to our animal control, but I know at one time we were talking about working with the Sheriff's Department in regards to that of individuals that own animals, but they're not being responsible and they're going into other people's yards. And speaking of that, we were talking about maybe putting something in place where if you, I love animals and all of that, but you have to be responsible to where there would be a fee, or we'd work Sheriff's Department in the event of obtaining the animal if they continuously were just running rapid in neighborhoods. Where are we at that? I know we've discussed that on several occasions, so is there an update with how things are with the Sheriff's Department, number one, and things being put in place to hold these owners responsible for their pets?
I'm going to let Assistant County Manager Faith Phillips answer that, and we also have Diane Pfeiffer, the Animal Services Director, here.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. As far as our enforcement, one thing Director Pfeiffer has been working and doing a deep dive into our enforcement team, seeing what the options are so that we can make sure that we are enforcing our animal control ordinances. Director Pfeiffer, do you have a brief update you could provide in some of the work that you're doing?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So one of the things that we're doing is across the board, we're looking at all of the citations that we're issuing. And we're looking at the collection of those citations and the best way to go about getting the enforcement of those citations. And so we have been working with Rob Hasty in legal to see what our options are. So right now, we are really just looking through everything that's been issued, how we're issuing them, how they line up with the ordinance, and then what steps we need to take moving forwards to be able to actually collect on them. That doesn't really answer your question directly, but we're still in the process of doing a review on the best way to approach those things.
Vice Chairman.
I appreciate that answer, but yes, it really doesn't answer my question. I guess my concern is we have a lot of constituents, as I stated, in the community. This has been an ongoing process. I know at one time we were discussing, or maybe you might have some input or updates you might know as the liaison with the Sheriff's Department. My understanding is the last solution, since the citations wasn't working, is we were going to see about having sworn officers that could move forward, but then putting a more, a penalty in place that we could make these owners more responsible. So that is the follow-up that I was discussing, because the concern was, which I do appreciate, you're talking about the citations, that wasn't effective working. So it was my understanding that's when we were going to be discussing things with the Sheriff's Department, see about sworn officers, so that these fines could be taken more serious and something could be put in place. And we were supposed to be looking into perhaps in other areas that do have this. I mean, I know we're not California, but you have to come and get your animal, and you have to pay $500. So I'm looking at that retrospect, that we know what the problem is. We discussed the solution. Where are we at in regards to that part with the Sheriff's Department, sworn officers, and doing something different now that it was discovered?
So we did have a meeting with the Sheriff's Department a while back where we had several meetings. One where we talked about the possibility of sworn officers. That was not viable at the time due to credentialing for the Sheriff's Department and the way that credentialing has to be done. Then we had other discussions with the Sheriff's Attorney and the captains of some of the property crimes about working forward. We established procedures of how we move information between the two departments for the files to help with the investigation process. We have had continued discussion with the Sheriff's Department and our legal team on how we do those investigations. Now we are moving into how we would do the warrants. There are two different types of warrants that we have to get when we are looking at these animals. We're looking at administrative and then the warrants that our legal team gets, and so we're working through those processes now.
Mr. Chairman, just one more input. Can we give direction to the staff that we can maybe put that as a priority, or perhaps you all can work with our Commissioner Tyson, the other liaison, to see about possibility, this has been going on for about 2 years, respectfully, getting something in place maybe by August?
We'll
Yes,
bring
sir.
back, look to bring it back on August work
yes.
session.
Thank you,
We'll bring
Mr.
up an
Chairman.
update.
So any questions on the fees? Anything on the fee structure? Commissioner Adams?
I do, I have one. On the adoption fees, we're going up on the dogs, and we have such a hard time. We even, during the time, have somewhere we waive those fees. So why would we go up on the fees if we're having a hard time with the adoption fee to start with? So my recommendation would be to leave it where it is. Second off, and that's the first question. The second one is the potential dangerous dogs. Those come into us all the time, and when it happens, and it's bad. I see we went up from 100 to 200. I think that ought to be raised a little bit higher to have, so that these owners really understand how we really value this. These neighborhoods are calling all the time. City council people, especially out west, are calling all the time about some of these dogs and some of those. So, board, I would look on those two issues to have some kind of change in those. You went down on the goats and the goats. Commissioner Tyson must be getting those goats out there. They'll eat up all your grass and stuff. You ain't gotta have that lawnmower out there.
The goats are started by now.
Commissioner Adams, did you have a recommendation on the dangerous dog?
Well, on the adoption for the dogs, I'll just leave it at 100. But as to the dangerous dogs, I'm almost at $500 to be able to do that. It's just, when it happens, it's just tremendous. You see all the faces. They send us the pictures. And people, one lady who wasn't here just was attacked and almost bit her leg off.
Commissioner Patel, and then I'll go back to Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with Commissioner Adams. I think with the occupancy of our shelter, it would, unless there's a reason why we're looking at increasing prices for adoption fees specifically, I would like to keep, at least the dog, cat, and the horse fees the same.
Okay, so the reason why we looked at raising that is the cost for a dog when it comes through the door in the first 4 days, when you take into consideration vaccinations, the microchip, everything that we need to get done, including the spay and neuter, it costs us $146 when that dog comes through the door. And that's just for a dog. That's not anything under 20 weeks. So for puppies, that cost goes up because vaccinations are every 2 weeks. So the reason we looked at doing that was for that specific reason. With cats, just as an FYI, so a cat is about $77.55 if it's male, and $112.55 for female, based on the cost of the procedure. So those were the reasons that we looked at the fee increases.
Commissioner Patel, anything else? Commissioner Tyson, you recognize. I'll come back to you, Commissioner Adams.
And that was going to be my next question to our budget director there. If we look to make a change here, have y'all incorporated any estimates or anything in your recommended budget, and would that change any of our projections?
It would change a little bit. I would get back with her after we got a consensus of the board if it was going to move forward.
And then as an aside to that, on the return to owner fees, that's what I was gonna ask about. With moving those up, is there any concern that we would potentially have people not coming back to claim their animal because of the increase in cost there?
So, I guess to answer the question, yeah, that definitely is a concern. So for return to owner animals, they are not owned by Cumberland County Animal Services. We do not have a clinic license, and because of that, we cannot do any type of, except for life-saving measures, we cannot do any procedures on owned animals. And those costs are the actual costs of the spay and neuter for the contracted vendor. And so we always have that concern that they're not going to come back and pick up the animal. And we do have a lower return to owner rate due to fees. It's just offsetting the cost of what Cumberland County actually has to pay for those contracted services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
And so I do kind of understand the 150 because of what it costs. But if I have to keep them longer, I'm going to spend way more than $50 to be able to do that. If I keep them 3 or 4 more days or a week because of the 150, you end up losing on the backside. So, I mean, it's a balancing act.
Sure.
But I'd rather have them come get them than, and you end up saving money in the long run. So even though you may do this, it's going to have an effect on the budget, because if they stay longer, you got a budget for that. And when they get full, you got a budget for that. So that was why I was saying, if you take it down to 100, hopefully they come get them quicker. You lose that $47 or whatever, but you gain on the backside.
Sure.
Anything else, Commissioner?
No, I guess I did understand that particular point, but I thought this was permitting and not getting them back. Was I misunderstood what that was?
So
for?
the return to owner fees, those are actually a fee associated with them getting their dog. So under ordinance, when we return those animals, they have to be spay or neutered. And so that's the cost for us sending them out to be spay or neutered.
I got that part. I'm talking about the permit fees. Is that when you get them back, or that was the fee I was talking about? So is that beforehand or afterwards?
So under the return to owner fees,
No, the permit fees for advance.
oh, I'm sorry, the permit fees. So the potentially dangerous dog permit fee is an annual cost. So if you were to raise it to $500, it would be $500 per year for any dog deemed dangerous.
Look, I got that part. Do they do it before or afterwards? Is it you go get them and then they got to pay $500 to get them back, or is it $500 to be able to have a dangerous dog?
So when we confiscate the dog, in order for them to get them back, they have to pay that permit fee.
I got you.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yes,
fine.
Commissioner Adams.
No, then I'm not at 500 anymore.
You're not?
No, because if you can't do anything with them when they get there, and they're not going to come back and well, I don't know, they don't need them back if they like that. I'll leave it where it is, Mr. Chair. That was my recommendation.
All right, quick question from the chair, and then we'll look for a consensus on any of the fee structure. So my one concern around neuter and the cost, there's a post cost to that, because we want them, the cause and effect of that, if they are neutered, when we get them back out into the community, they're less likely to have, so why would we want to, why wouldn't we want to I hate using that word, why wouldn't we want to offset that cost? If it benefits the overall strategy on what we're trying to do in the community from a population standpoint, why would we want to raise it versus the benefit to having it at a lower rate, knowing that it's working towards this, we're making an investment in the overall strategy?
That's an excellent question, Chairman. And the way that I'll answer that is when Diane came into the department, one of the items that I asked with her and what we're working on is just really working on the budget and the spending of the department. And so this was more focused on, the spending and the budget, but you do have a point with that. Is there anything you want to add with that?
Do we want to, is that let us research it and come back?
We can
before
research it
answering
and bring it back. We can answer that question. Yes, sir.
these? Okay, so board, let's go around and look at, so the fees, is there consensus on the adoption fees to maintain the current fees? It's kind of what I heard.
Yes.
And then you want to raise the dangerous dog or not? Just keep it at 200. Okay, so I guess,
I'd like to raise it.
all right. Commissioner Patel, and then I'll go to Commissioner Adams.
I think if it's an annual fee, I'm okay with it staying at 200. I mean, we've doubled the fee from 100 this current fiscal year to 200. I'd agree with that.
Okay. Commissioner Adams, you had a comment?
Yeah, I would have cut it down from 5, but I would have done I would have raised it, because I really do think we need to send a message to these people who have these dogs, and so I would at least stick at 3 to 350. That'll give you a little bit less than that. I did have one other question on the spay and neuter, Mr. Chairman. I guess how much is it if you go to a veterinarian? I guess that's kind of, are we lower than that, and so that we are so much lower that we can get them in here, so that these little increases are much cheaper than if you're out in the real market. And so, I get you, he'll get you. And such that what we need to do is have PIO actually kind of do a blitz of what we charge and how much less it is than all of that. So that was my question, Mr.
It's severely lower. I would say that if you go to a private vet to have this done, it will range at the bottom end, $750, at the high end, at least $2,500, depending on the breed of the dog and the gender of the dog.
Commissioner, Vice Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in favor for raising the fee for the dangerous dogs. It's my understanding, and from what I'm seeing from these emails, most of these dogs are pet bulls, and some of them are also, very expensive dogs. And a lot of times we'll get emails, it won't be the first time offense, and each time it's getting worse. So obviously somebody's coming back to get their, get those particular dogs. The dangerous dogs from these pictures that I've seen, and unfortunately that's what's happening, and you all have seen the emails too. It'll be a complaint for somebody's arms bitten off, then it's worse the next time. So obviously they're coming back to get, and nothing against pet bulls, but again, if you're a dangerous dog, you're there for protection. And from what I've seen, they're obviously coming back. So I would actually say $350, and if you're a second-time offender, make it $500. These aren't, stray type of dogs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my only input.
Commissioners, all right, so we got consensus around keep the existing fees, the dangerous dog, you can move it to 300, second offense 500. Y'all okay with that? So keeping the adoption fees, current fees, and then the permit fees on the dangerous dog is 300, and then second time offense 500. The only comment, and we're going to come back on the research on the neuter fees, the only point I'll make on the neuter fees is this is when we capture the dogs. I don't think we want to advertise that we're going to do spay neuter.
No, I'm talking about the spay.
I don't think we want to advertise that we're going to hurt some of our private sector folks that are doing this for a living. So, but I think understanding how it ties, I get the money side, but understanding how it ties to our overall strategy on what we're trying to do, working with partner agencies to the bigger picture, I think we want to take a look at that.
Yep, okay, sir.
All right, so I think anything else on fees on the animal services? All right, we'll go ahead and move forward to engineering. Oh, you have something else? Commissioner Patel.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, are the small livestock going to stay at 50 or go down to 25?
Oh.
So that one adoption fee decreased?
Do you want to decrease it or keep it the same?
Small livestock, if I may, we have a really hard time adopting out
All
small
right, so,
livestock.
Good point, Commissioner Patel. So we'll keep the dog, the cat, the horse, and we'll drop the small livestock for Commissioner Tyson.
And then if I may ask a clarification, we are also asking to add in the credit card processing fees of 3%, and we were wondering if to keep that or take that out.
No issues with that. I didn't hear any issues on that.
No issues, but is that across the board for as long as it's even across all the boards?
This is to bring animal services in with all the other departments.
In compliance with
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody was on 3 or something.
Anything else? Manager Greer or Manager Phillips?
The euthanasia, any guidance from the board on the euthanasia proposed fee change, taking it down to $5?
If you didn't hear us, I think we're good on those. All right, we'll go ahead and move to engineering. Thank you.
Again, this has not changed, this is just an update, we're moving to floodplains, it was in engineering, we're moving that over to planning, and where it should belong. And then planning inspections, they're asking for an increase from $35 to $80 around surrounding jurisdictions.
Commissioners, any questions on the engineering or the planning inspection changes? All right, no questions there. We'll go ahead and move to public health.
Again, this slide has not been changed from the update. Any questions?
Questions on the vaccinations? Do you have some question?
I'm looking to see, not at this point in time.
So there's 2 pages.
Yes.
Also lab services and medical records.
I do have one question.
Vice Chairman Jones, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deborah, can you just tell our listening audience, our community, were there any changes, what did you go up on and what you did not, or did you leave everything the same?
We went up to
Simplify.
deal with the Medicaid changes, what they could be reimbursed by, to be,
No other changes when it comes to
No,
vaccines or
no.
anything like that?
we're not making any money.
Commissioner Adams, you recognize.
I just have a question. Is there a discount for the seniors on any of this? You know, they own that Social Security, they own a fixed budget. I'm getting it, man. I'm
That would
already
have to
there.
come from the health board.
Okay. These came from the health board?
Yes, they go, all fee changes go to the health board first, and then from there, they flow over to here, to inside the budget.
Vice Chairman Jones, you recognize.
Just input, since I'm on the health board, we do have a sliding scale over there based on income, based on people's income. If she was saying the health board puts that in place. And they have some programs.
Anything else on the health department or lab services or medical records fees? We'll go ahead and look at environmental health and tax administration.
Again, this has not been changed from what has been updated. Any questions, we will entertain.
Questions on this one, Commissioner Patel?
Just a quick question on the pool fees. What was the reason for the increase?
They were requested to approve to standardize the pool inspection fees as both seasonal and year-end round inspections required the same level of review, including approximately 4 hours of staff time, which is covering the travel, the inspection, and administrative work. The proposed fee is consistent with the peer comparisons matching Wake County and remain lower than 2 other health departments while applying to profit entities such as hotels and apartment complexes.
Sure. Thank you.
Those are just my notes.
Commissioners, anything else on environmental health or the tax administration and mapping? Note that we are now charging for property records. Any questions, concerns? Commissioner Adams?
And I don't know if this falls in here, but, and I see the things about the swimming pool, but we had a serious issue. I don't know where that falls. It was up on the north side where these people were using their pools and having these parties, and the health department has to go out there. Is that anywhere captured in terms of what we do? Because that went on. I drove by there one day and it was just,
Still
huh?
running.
Yeah. Oh, is it still going on? Oh, poor people out there. But the health department has to continually go out there and do something. I don't know, maybe that's something we need to look at to capture somewhere, but that's.
The county manager.
It wasn't.
That's part of the reason why we had a fee changes, because there's vaguely, there was a ordinance or General Assembly law approved that we really couldn't regulate, prevent. It's like Airbnb for swimming pools. And so we have to go out there periodically to visit these pools when they have these parties and stuff like that. So that's part of the fee increase also.
Oh, shoot, we probably need to go up then, because them poor folk out there are having a rough time. I don't know, but anyway.
Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know we're kind of wrapping up kind of the fee changes section of our discussion. And I guess my question is, I didn't see anything about building permit fees and any discussion about that for new home construction or
They did not
plan
bring-
review.
They did not bring forth any fee changes this year.
So I would take it if they're not proposing a change, it's just going to stay the same.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
So we normally don't review that as part of our budget process, even if it's staying the same?
We usually just bring the changes to the board, but if you would like differently, we can provide.
You want to have it emailed or you want to present?
I think having an email and then seeing if there's any further discussion to have about it would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, anything else on general fund? I think that closes out, I'm sorry, anything else on fee changes for general fund? I think that closes that portion out. We'll go back and capture it at the end, and we'll move forward to personnel and compensation.
Yes, Dominic Hall, Chief Human Resources Director, will present this item. Answer any questions you may have. Dominic, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairwoman, members of the board, County Manager Greer, and everyone in their respective positions. I would like to briefly provide some background regarding the county's classification and compensation study and recent workforce trends. I have with me the Classification and Compensation Division Supervisor Kathy Woods to help me out. I have Talent Acquisition Division Supervisor Amanda Termeyer also with me, and one of our interns for this summer in HR, Joshana Bethay, who we've only been together a week. And she has challenged me in the most amazing way to look at not only my current workforce, but also the future. So thank you, Joe, for that. In FY23, Cumberland County engaged McGrath Human Resources Group to conduct a comprehensive classification and compensation study. The study included employee position questionnaires, meetings with department directors, market surveys, and analysis of comparable public and private sector employers. The goal was to ensure positions were appropriately classified and compensated based on assigned duties, responsibilities, and market competitiveness. Following the completion of the study and approval by the board, implementation occurred through the two-step process. The first step involved aligning positions to the newly established salary structure. Employees whose salaries fell below the minimum of the assigned pay grade were brought to the new minimum. Employees already above the minimum remained at the current salary. The cost of implementing this first step was approximately $13.6 million based on all authorized positions, or approximately $9.9 million based on field positions only at that time. The second step addressed salary compression by recognizing years of service and moving employees further into their salary range. Compression adjustments range from 1 to 5.5%, depending on their length of service. The cost of the second phase was approximately $2.4 million. Combined, the total annual implementation cost was approximately $16 million, representing a 13.1% increase to budgeted salaries, or approximately $12.3 million based on field positions at that time. Because implementation occurred in November rather than at the beginning of the fiscal year, the actual partial year cost was approximately $10.5 million against budgeted salaries and approximately $8 million for field positions. The study represented a comprehensive county-wide review of every position and established a framework we continue to utilize today. As shown on the next slide, positions are classified based upon their duties and responsibilities assigned to the position itself. Factors considered include education requirements, certifications, complexity of work, decision-making authority, scope of responsibilities, supervisory responsibilities, impact of errors, confidentiality requirements, and working conditions. Classification answers the questions, what is the job? Compensation answers the question, what is the job worth in relation to the labor market? It's important to note that classification is based on the position, not the person performing the work. Because of this, two positions may be assigned to the same pay grade while performing very different functions. Classification does not compare job titles. It evaluates the overall level of responsibility, complexity, required knowledge, decision-making authority, and organizational impact of each position. For example, a librarian, tax analyst, and solid waste truck driver position perform entirely different work, but the overall evaluation of the positions result in similar levels of responsibility, complexity, and organizational impact. They may also be assigned to the same pay grade. Equal pay grades does not mean the jobs are identical. They mean the positions were determined to have comparable organizational value based on the classification methodology used during the study. Turning to workforce data, Cumberland County's vacancy rate has steadily declined over the last 3 fiscal years, decreasing from 19.6% in FY24 to 15.22% as of May 2026. While vacancies remain a challenge, the trend demonstrates measurable progress. The Sheriff's Office and Department of Social Services account for the largest concentration of vacancies. These challenges mirror workforce shortages being experienced across North Carolina and throughout the nation, particularly in public safety, social services, healthcare, skilled trades, and technical professions. The labor market remains highly competitive. Public sector employers continue to face challenges related to retirements, reduced applicant pools, increased competition for talent, and changing workforce expectations. Our focus is not simply filling vacancies. Our focus is building a sustainable workforce through recruitment, retention, employee development, succession planning, and future talent pipelines. Through initiatives such as the Invite Internship Program, expanded recruitment outreach, leadership development opportunities, tuition assistance programs, and enhanced employer branding efforts, we continue to address both immediate staffing needs and long-term workforce challenges. Thank you.
Board questions on the comp study and update on vacancies. Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
And I remember when we started this back with McGrath and those, and the first part was to bring everybody up to a living wage or better, correct? That's what we were talking about when the board did that.
Correct.
Which then caused some compression,
Correct.
which is the second part that we had to do. But I don't hear where we ever got to the third part, which is the third part that the board had voted on, was to then come back and look at and see if the salaries were comparable across the all the departments, because it was explicitly talked about that we could no longer, the way we were doing this is we would look at counties that were about our comparable size and say that's what they're paying. But the board decided that that was no longer with the way people could move around now, and that was a long time ago where you just kind of stayed where you were. But we're now competing with Wake County, Durham County, New Hanover County. We're paying a whole lot more. And so one of the directives was to go back to then look at the comparison of all those. I didn't hear that we did that on this. I don't hear that we ever got to that third part.
So when we did the study, we did have a comparison to the different counties, the surrounding counties, and we actually had it, the starting salary for each of them. But are you asking about moving through? So that would be the classification and compensation philosophy that we're currently working on and we'll bring forth soon. So
we're just getting to that point. So, which I guess would be even with the sheriff and DSS and the vacancy rate, is we had done this a little bit earlier once we finished the other two, which is the reason we went to a bonus that year. Remember, we did that because we had just done the comp study. Then we were supposed to move over into that next step that you're doing. It's been about 2 years now, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's
Do you have something else to add? No, I didn't know. Okay. Commissioners, other questions, comments on the presentation and the information from Director Hall? Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do want our listening audience and our community to know that usually in North Carolina, as I did some research as well, usually comprehensive personnel studies are done every 3 to 5 years. And this is, to ensure salary ranges, classification plans. But I must say that things are done a little bit different when it comes to DSS as I do serve on the DSS board as well as the Public Health Board, because in North Carolina, the Social Service Board and the Public Health Department, they're a little bit more unique. They have their own boards. Also, they're heavily tied to the State Human Resources, SHRA. With that being said, many times we need to be mindful of when was the last time that our Department of Social Services, I'd like to know, when did we have a plan put in place, also for the Health Department, when it comes to a STEP plan? I know that that's been done in other areas, but that would be my question either to yourself or the manager, because again, as I stated, the setup for our Public Health Department and DSS is done a little bit different, especially with the ties when it comes to that with the SHRA. So we want to make sure that we are looking at that of comprehensive market rates and that of salary when it comes to positions. So can someone tell me, have we been looking into that for a STEP plan to be put in place for Department of Social Services? Was one ever done, and if so, when? And the same for the Public Health Department.
So with the classification and compensation study that we did, the recommendation was we put together the salary schedule that we have, and we have not looked at doing a salary schedule or step plan for them as of yet.
Okay. So one has not been done in the past either, is that?
I
just
don't
wanna
know about that.
Has anything been done in the past either?
County Manager Greer.
The only step plan that we have effective and that we've ever put in place was for the Sheriff Department years ago, even predates me. For the general employees outside of, and I know social services and public health and some organizations consider public safety, but pure traditional public safety, that's where it's generally a step plan is at, or you find those. I think recently we had some conversation that we would look into that later on in the upcoming fiscal year. But typically, in the organizations that I've been in, we hadn't had a step plan for general employees, including social services. What we have done is try to move them through the step of their grade, if possible. But again, that's something at the board's pleasure, we can look at and evaluate.
Vice Chairman Jones, follow.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I definitely, on behalf of, again, as being the liaison for the Public Health Department, DSS, and coming from the background of family services, I certainly think that it's far time, well overdue, that we do look into a step plan, because as I voiced my concern, and so have both of those boards, definitely social workers, case managers, nurses and doctors, no doubt, they are considered as first responders, as we know this very well. Whenever we have a hurricane or any other type of emergency comes up, they're the ones that work at the shelter and everything else. So we certainly want to make sure that our first responders, to include DSS workers and public health workers, are being able to, we need to put something in place. So I would be asking the board, when it comes to a step plan, that we, sooner than later, it's my understanding from being transparent, other meetings that we've had, it does take time to put these things in place, 6 months to a year. Therefore, the sooner we start, the better, is my input. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I seem to remember when we did the presentation for the sheriff's step plan that we're looking at, there was some unfunded positions or some abolished positions that the sheriff agreed to move off the table to help fund that plan. Is that correct?
Yes, he
Correct.
did. Yes, he did. We unfunded 16 in the sheriff's office and 20 in the detention center. Altogether, yes.
So about 36 positions total
Position, yes.
that were either abolished or
They were
defunded,
not abolished, they were unfunded.
unfunded, to pay for that plan.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to I thought my memory had served me on that, but I just wanted to check. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chairman Jones, round two.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that they had the opportunity to do just that. I'm sure the Department of Social Services serving on that board and Public Health, Brenda Jackson, as we know, has over 45 years' experience, the director, as serving on those boards and concerns that those boards have spoken. We would love the same opportunity. I don't think she'd have a problem looking through her information and being given that same opportunity to see what can be unfunded or what needs to be cut. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, other questions on the presentation or on any around the questions?
If I may add for Commissioner Adams, I don't want you to think that we did not do anything from the study. We do labor market adjustments through comparisons throughout the year. And also when we're making decisions, we also look at compression. So we're not just, hey, we did the study and we're just leaving it at that. We do look at labor market throughout the year and look at compression.
So I guess there's been increases across the, because I'm just gonna tell you, because of my day job, y'all are woefully under paying the attorneys and child support and all across. So I don't know if it's across the board or how it does, because I guess we haven't gotten that back, but,
You want to add that to our August work session?
yeah, we can do that.
Since
Since I ain't gonna get it in the budget, look like when you put it in August, when you finish with the budget, I like the chair. I caught that.
It's just a lot of information to bring back if you want to approve a budget in June. Real quick, and then I'll come back to the Vice Chairman, County Manager Greer.
Yeah, I would agree that we probably do need to go back, and I said in previous conversations, we probably would need to wait until after we find out the results of this fiscal year. We'll have those in September, and then bring back a recommendation. We can tentatively bring something back in August at the work session, but I do think that over the last 3 years, compensation has changed and it has gotten more competitive and challenging. And I can speak to that directly by some of the hires that I tried to hire over the last few months, and it was challenging to make sure that we were in the right range as far as hiring.
Mr. Chairman,
I'll move back to
Okay.
Vice Chairman.
I would ask them to bring it back in September. HR is dealing with all those Ignite interns and everything else and people on vacation in July. There's no reason to try to overstress people. The budget will be done by then. So September is probably more realistic than trying to get it done by August with all the stuff that's going on. If the board doesn't mind, September I think is better.
As they gear back up for the budget next year in January,
Yeah.
December and January.
Yeah.
Budget never sleeps.
Vice Chairman Jones. Trying to get a little bit later. Vice
Yeah, I
Chairman Jones.
understand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and since we're talking about classification and compensation studies, I do know that the fund balance has been used to balance the county budget for over the last 10 years. As we know, when we use the fund budget, that allows us to maintain services, also helps us to eliminate cutting departments, and definitely stress and be transparent. That can help alleviate, a lot of cuts I was seeing that I'm not pleased with. Hopefully we negotiate when it comes to DSS and public health. So my question is, are we not going to be using the fund balance to help balance that out so that we can alleviate, we can keep these jobs? I guess that question might be for Mr. Greer. I mean, for the last 10 years, we've certainly been using the fund balance for the county budget to include with compensation salaries so that we can decrease and not stress out our, first responders, DSS, public health. So is that going to be an option to use the fund balance? So that certainly, my understanding, I'm just going to be transparent, I might be putting it out there a little bit too soon. 101 jobs, I don't think that, I think it's 110, in social services. I don't see how that's going to be of due diligence, especially coming from Child Protective Services, how that's going to precise or serve anyone. So is it an option, board members, to consider using fund balance?
County Manager Greer, you want to, so I'll speak to it first.
If you don't mind, I prefer him to speak on that.
I think
Since it's staff's jobs.
we had consensus from the board that the use of fund balance, although we had a policy, is for one-time funding. We use balance the budget using that fund balance of $3.8 million, approximately $3.8 million, really $3.9 million for one-time funding. The board would have to provide additional guidance to move forward in a different manner. Our budget, to balance the budget, to recommend the budget based on the guidance that we had in the 2 work sessions. We do have a policy of 3%, but again, like I said, the board would have to approve that. Like I said, I'm flexible. We can do whatever the board's pleasure is.
Vice Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, because as I stated, I know we've used it in the past. I know there was consensus when we talked about 3%. There wasn't any vote, respectfully. I do know that we all said we agreed, but people change their mind as I've changed mine, because at the time when I was agreeing for this percentage, and I was agreeing to all this consensus, again, wasn't a vote, was well before I knew that they were going to say first responders and important jobs like social workers and all this was going to happen. So I appreciate that for our listening audience, the community is being concerned about that too. I thank you for saying that that would be a board decision in regards to, so it's not that we can't use funding balance. I want to be clear on that. We're going to be real transparent with our community. We can use fund balance if we choose to, as it's been done for 10 years. I want to be clear with that, if that's what this board chooses to do. Is that not correct? I don't want to mix people up in the community. These are hard crisis times. People trying to keep their job. We're not going to, shuck a job. We're going to keep it real. Y'all know I'm be the one to keep it real. So if this board, as it's been done in 10 years before, decides to use fund balance fundings so we can alleviate cutting jobs from DSS, alleviate cutting jobs from Public Health Department, it's not a done deal. We can, as this board, if we choose to, use those fundings. Is that not correct?
It's available for emergencies, anything we need to use it for. So the board has a pleasure to use the fund balance. I say again, the recommended budget was based on the consensus at the 2 work sessions. I would also like to say that the goal was to make sure that we didn't, although we cut vacant salaries and vacant positions, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to make other decisions about personnel in order to balance the budget. And I think in addressing that, we also said any positions that we recommended for abolishment were recommended by the departments. Everybody was held to the same standard of 7.5% to reduce their budget. Nobody was, that was across the board. So I say, and as I said in my presentation, I appreciate the board, the directors and the departments that work with us to get us there. Again, whatever the pleasure of the board, as the recommended budget, we can make happen, just like the questions that happened today. But again, there were other personnel decisions that would have had to been made had we kept the vacant positions that were long-term in process, and just felt like I wouldn't want to make for myself. I didn't want to have to make those decisions over vacant positions.
Just one last follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just for the listening public, I appreciate you explaining that the answer is yes. If we decide, this board, to use fundings or renegotiate and look at things, I like to keep it simple for the community, that is a possibility, correct? Because consensus is not voting. So we do have the powers, this board, if we choose to change our mind, because I'm going to be honest, I did consensus agree, but that was before I started seeing where the cuts were coming from. You all know I'm going to be completely transparent, and I appreciate this. Your team does a great job. Everyone else does a great job too. So I'm glad that was just that, a consensus, because consensus and voting is different, where things have to be reevaluated once you start seeing things coming in. So thank you and your team. You all are doing a great job. And just for the listening community, as they stated, that decision is for this board, so we can, if we choose to, or we can choose not to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Abshire.
And I hear what Commissioner Jones is saying. So the recommended budget was about 400 million, 398, 317, 286. Is that correct?
Yes.
And out of that, you took about 3,283 and 48 to do out of the fund balance. Right? That's correct. Is that correct? I'm just trying to make sure I'm correct.
Yes.
So 3% of the fund balance was 11,949,518 and 58 cents.
That's correct.
Okay. Leaving a balance of 8,666,470 and 58 cents of that 3%. Is that correct?
not there yet.
All right, take your time.
That's generally about, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
But
I
you
need
have
good numbers.
you have to subtract out the amount for one-time funding, so it leaves about
About
$8,666,000.
$470
Yeah,
and
something like
58 cent, which
Yes.
is still remaining out of that 3% that has been policy to be able to be used. And I think that when we were talking about this, and I guess the directive was Mr. Manager, and I think you did a good job of give us a budget and don't raise the taxes. I guess that was kind of our directive.
Yeah,
Fund
and
balance.
Well, I don't know that I was into,
That was the direct, you may have not been in that meeting, but that was.
well, yeah, I must have not been there, because sometimes I'm not there.
I'd like to follow up on that. One of the things, and that was the directive, and use
I didn't
it
agree
only
with
for,
that
use it for only one-time funding. And
Discussion, no vote. Sorry, Mr. Manager.
And if you look, and we've had conversations about lowering potentially the rate early on in that process. If you look at the amount, it was approximately $7.9 million, $7,890,000. The budget staff, along with myself, held the rate and took 2 cents out of the approximate 2 cents. I'm also mad at myself because if I had added $250,000, it would have been approximately actually 2 cents. So that was achieved, and the only thing we did was remove vacant positions in order to make sure that we stayed financially viable and also met the goals and objectives of the 2 budget work sessions. Now, and like I said, I have a great appreciation for the departments and what they did. But again, that was the direction, the consensus that we had, and we were able to do both of them kind of in one add-on a little bit through just budget and working with the departments. Again, as I said previously, if the board has a different direction or what they wanted to or change, then we'll do that. But at the time, the budget was balanced and recommended based on the guidance that we received at the 2 budget work sessions.
Commissioner Adams, anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman, those are the numbers that I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Manager, I want to make sure I got this really, really clear and that I understand. And I've got the recommended budget pulled up. And I'm looking at the page surrounding abolished positions. So I'm understanding that the 61 long vacant positions whose funding could be repurposed to offset new federally mandated costs associated with HR 1 changes was a recommendation that came from the DSS director.
Yes,
That's what this budget document says.
yes,
In addition, the changes at public health that are proposed, according to the budget document, says that those changes were recommended by the public health director.
yes,
So those were not changes that you all are recommending. Those were changes you are recommending in your budget, but that came up through the director of both of those agencies.
yeah, through the budget process, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That clarifies it for me.
Vice Chairman Jones, and I'll go back to Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, because as we all know, negotiations and discussions, since Mr. Brenda Jackson is here, we won't put her into this, but we know managers and staff do have to discuss things, because I'm going to be real transparent. At the time of consensus, not a vote, when I was saying, hey, this sounded like a good idea, being real transparent, that was well before then once I seen it. So that was premature on my part, because I was agreeing to something, and as we stated, across the board, but then when it rolled out, no, I'm not in favor, let the record state, because when you have 110 jobs, and honestly, things do change, because I had a special meeting myself, being a liaison with the manager, I'm not gonna go into all that, also with Ms. Brenda Jackson. It went from 61 positions, I was told, and then said, hey, we're gonna try to, my proposal, a negotiation was just as you all meet with the budget team, so do I thought it was gonna drop down to 21, 25. Then, it ended up being raised up to 110 jobs. So I will be the first one to be transparent. That's why the community put me in the seat to say, if I go for one thing, I do a reevaluation, just as Commissioner Adams just said, and I see that things aren't going to be in the best interest of the community, then I'm subject to change my mind. It wasn't a vote, it was consensus. So what I agreed upon was well before, when I started seeing the plan come out, 110 positions being cut respectfully, and half of those, we've got a high rate. I'm gonna educate people. I come from working from family services, and to be quite frank, no, I'm not for a budget to be balanced off the backs of the disenfranchised, that's of whom we all know the DSS and Department of Social Services serves. So we can have uncomfortable conversations, because I'm the one to have them. I'm gonna be real transparent. I respect the police department. They got taken care of as they should, just as well as the DSS. It's not a competition. We all on the same team. And we're out here taking care of while I'm at it. I love the teachers. My mother was a teacher 36 years on Fort Bragg. And anytime I can have the school board coming here yesterday, although it was by vision, you got to take care of your own people. Now I'm going to be the one to put it out there. If we're going to respectfully, fully fund the school system, of which we should, and now they come, they're asking for more money respectfully, certainly I'm not comfortable not taking care of our own, and our own means just that. Department of Social Services, whether it's on the board or not, and the Public Health Department. That's just my personal take on it. I mean, it's hard for me to, be in favor of help and support. They get state fundings. I love the teachers. I love education. But then if I'm not going to take care of my own people, we all got to take care of home. That's just my own personal take. Put it on the record. I feel that the manager has just stated, if that's what the board wants to do, I think there should be some reconsiderations. I'm not going to shuck and jive my community. Now, we already have high rate. Let's keep it real in here. If you don't know, pull the records of when it comes to child abuse in this community. We've got issues going on with the big, beautiful bill coming down from the top down here. So we can't afford to be cutting areas of SNAP, social workers. And again, perhaps maybe I'm a little bit more involved with this because I come from the field. So we're not in a position, let's be real here, to be cutting back social workers. We're already having issues competing with Harney County and everything else. This is a very unique situation. And at the end of the day, look up the numbers. The numbers don't lie. We're going to clap. We do things over there at child advocacy, but we got to keep the kids safe. And I don't see how we're going to do that if we're going to be cutting a whole bunch of positions that work for Child Protective Services. I mean, we just can't wait. And then when we have, people, we've been there before, Shania Davis case. Got social workers working. I'm kind of venting a little bit. Let me pull them back here. 200 cases. I'm almost done. And then when we have a child out here that dies, everybody wants to say it's on the social worker, but they had too many cases. So we need to be realistic on what's going on here. Child rate of child abuse is up. Pull the numbers. Google it. I'm not for cutting at Child Protective Service jobs. No, I'm not. I'm not for cutting SNAP issues, and I'm not for budgeting this budget, to be quite frank, off the backs of the disenfranchised, because that is who DSS serves, and that is who over there Public Health serves. Now, I done put the elephant out in the room. Talk about me, let me take the hit, but don't let my community suffer for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Adams.
And if I'm not mistaken, when we were talking about moving the funds over, because I had this big discussion about not moving it, and this board said we could always move it back. Is that not the discussion that we had in this room?
We did.
That was the discussion.
Move
Yeah.
that fund back.
When we were talking about putting some of the money in the CIP and that extra money, we had a whole conversation.
Yeah, we did have that conversation.
Yeah, we had that conversation, and this board said, oh, it's just a hole there, we can move it back. Yes, okay.
It's the parking lot. He's talking about your parking lot.
He knows, the whole thing.
Please, someone, County Manager, can you
When
clarify?
the capital transfer
Right,
that we
the
made.
capital transfer.
At the
For the,
Right, the capital
for the
transfer.
capital investment fund. Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
we increase that. That's a policy that we set.
Right.
So I think the go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I'm sorry, but as we did that, because we gave more over and above, that we could move that back to be able to deal with the budget. Is that not the conversation that we had? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the
The
conversation we all
board
had.
has the ability to modify
Yeah,
any of that.
right.
I think,
Yeah.
just as a point of clarification, I think this year compared to last year, the manager came to us very early on and said, give me some parameters. That then allowed us to be able to work the budget once it came to us. And the parameters that we laid out, that we gave consensus or took a vote on, but we gave direction, was don't increase the tax rate and don't use the fund balance, the 3%, which is by policy, so don't use the fund balance. What that allowed us to do is the staff to present a budget to us, and then us, if we saw something we needed to adjust with, it gives us that breathing room to stay within our policy and to stay off the auditor's radar screen, quite frankly, as well, and to be responsible with our fund balance. But it gives us, as a board, to everybody's point, it gives us that ability to breathe. It's not, and be able to make adjustments that we need to adjust without modifying anything else. And I think that was the direction, and why we did it that way is because that fund balance is there. Although we have a policy, it gives the board that breath and that conversation if we need to adjust anything based on what's been presented. But I will say, again, the staff did a great job of presenting what they presented based on direction from the board to get us to that point. And again, you know, to the county manager's point, while there are positions that have been unfunded, no physical person recommended lost a position.
Yeah, no person has been has been recommended to lose their job, and even for the programs that we have suspended, we have found a soft landing for them within the organization. So that's why we, as I said in my previous statement, when we talk about vacant positions and unfunding or abolishing, whatever the word we want to use, I wanted to make sure we right-size and right-size the workforce, because in certain departments and programs, they're based on for state and federal funding. If those vacant positions stay long-term vacant, they overinflate the budget, and we, at the end of the year, we don't get the budget utilization or the return on the investment of the budget. So we looked at that. And I will say, as part of that, I didn't want to have to make a decision contrary to being able to provide people a soft landing.
So again, and I'll open it, Commissioner Patel, go ahead.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Manager, I just want to find some clarification between our recommended budget and whether it's however we want to frame the unfunded position. So if we're looking at department of the 77 total positions, we're showing vacancies on our slideshow today of 145 vacancies, but we're unfunding 61 of those 145, correct?
We unfunded additional 41.
Okay.
We applied plan based on the recommendation of the department initially through the budget process. They recommended 61. We came back and recommended unfunding additional 41. That way, if money, and as I've said, if money comes available or funding comes available, we would reinstate or recommend reinstating those positions. But in order to balance the budget, again, we had to unfund some positions. We're also in the sheriff department and other departments. And even the programs that we ended, again, as I said, the people, bless you, the individuals who were in those programs, we had to find soft landings for them, and we were able to do that. So go through the budget process based on revenues, expenses. Go to the next slide. Go to the slide with benefits. We didn't talk about that. Right here. I mean, we keep having increases in retirement, law enforcement. Then, as I said in the presentation, we're seeing slow revenue growth. There's some economic impacts. So it wasn't done one department. As I said, as we started the process, back in February, I asked all departments for 7.5%. Everybody was asked for 7.5% of their total budget in order to balance this budget. And so, yes, I think remaining, I think they will have about 45 vacant positions available to them to hire, based on the slide right there.
So, go ahead. So to clarify, Mr. Greer, basically, if we need the capacity, we still have the slots if we need to recruit and retain.
Yes, we do.
That's between all of these departments.
Yes, and then again, you all have the ability to use fund balance if you choose to.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chairman Jones, you recognize round 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want the board to take in consideration, and again, we do have a excellent financial team, no doubt. All of our departments are equally treated, and but we must say, I do have a concern, you know, when I'm on the Social Service Board and Public Health Board, and also because of the fact that I do know that the child welfare cases, they are over the statutory caseload. Standards and economic services are over the better practice standards, and staff are doing the work under very distressed situations, comp time rather than paid overtime, unhealthy work-life balance, and this, let's be honest, can lead to errors, safety for the children and for our adults, and let's be quite frank, a lot of times people become exhausted, and that means you have an inability to focus. That means they're going to have hindering decisions. But most importantly, I'm just going to be very transparent. From what I've been hearing from the staff and even our community, people are very concerned. As we know, the morale has plumbed and went down for the human, because of all the stuff that was going on with human services, just even talking about consolidation, people worried about they're going to have the job or not. The morale has really took a toll. It really has. So now people are concerned about positions or, you know, what's going to be next. So I just want us to be a little bit more sensitive to the needs of those that work in social services and public health. They come, they show up, they're here today. And so, again, I can't emphasize enough, respectfully, we have to make sure that we take care of those that are taking care of others. And I appreciate, and I'm sure this board will be a fair board in regards to finding a way to ensure that the children of this community are being taken care of, as they do work a lot too, hand in hand with the Sheriff's Department. And I am very concerned, pull the numbers, with these recent child abuse cases and whatnot. I'm just concerned, and like I said, caseloads are already at a height over what they already are at. So it's concerning to me if we're going to be making cuts, because we know who it's going to impact. Those that we're supposed to serve, the disenfranchised. That's who's going to be impacted. We all going to go home, be safe. Our children are going to be safe. But I'm up here to look out for everyone, to include the disenfranchised. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Tyson, round 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, you know, to the Vice Chair's point, I think we kind of have in our documents maybe half the story. And I think if we had the other half, it may be helpful. So instead of just looking at vacancy rate, could you send us some information on annual attrition rate? How many positions we've been averaging filling in the departments, maybe for the last 2 or 3 fiscal years, so we can look at the correlation to see if we do make a decision, you know, would we be on trend to have enough positions to fill the historic attrition rate over the last several fiscal years? And that may be helpful as a board to have that information. That'd be my request, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Adams, anything else, Commissioner Tyson?
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Adams, and I'll come back to the Vice Chair. Round 3.
3, 4. I'd have a problem with the attrition rate, because I think that won't tell you the full story either. Our salaries, before y'all came on this board, before we did that study, was so low. We weren't competitive with anybody. We were losing social workers to Hope County and Mecklenburg, anywhere, because you could take the caseload. I did abuse and neglect for a long time. You could take the caseload of somebody from here. They could leave here, go to a next county, and their caseload would be cut almost in half or 2/4. So the attrition rate, it really, they were leaving, because you don't know the reason they were leaving unless we did some exit interviews. I believe that they were, in talking to folk, they were leaving because of pay. So you're not going to get a clear picture on attrition rate. I think you will find that from the Sheriff's Department. You'd have found it from the Police Department. The Fayetteville Police Department had people driving from here to Cary and join their police department. That's just how low this whole community was. And so I think this board and the prior board did a great job moving those salaries up. I still don't think they're competitive, but they did move them up. So, you know, on especially the Child Protective Services, and I had a talk with Judge King again earlier today, did that for years. We have more child abuse cases than Mecklenburg County, which has way over the millions of people that they have. We're above everybody else in the state on that. And the caseload that these people carry basically is outrageous for what they have. The second part I would tell you is that we have to be careful of what's happening in Raleigh. Because of the cases down in Mecklenburg with the Moody case and the other case that we didn't have anything to do with, but happened in our county because it was an adoption case, they're doing some laws up in Raleigh that's going to cause whole Child Protective Services to do some different things. I think they're going to go to counties, and we're one of the 3 counties that's possibly in this bill. And I think they're going to go down and make it that we're going to have some ratios of what people have and the number of cases they have. And so, especially in that Child Protective Services, none of those need to be they don't need to be vacant. We need to fund those. Some of the other ones, I don't know about all those. I wouldn't abolish any of them. I'd leave them. Yeah, it was only 5 of them, but I think we're going to need more than 5. That's just my belief. I think that's all that's there. Because historically, that's all we gave them. And so if that's all you have, then that's all you have. But I think under this new ratio, and I'm pretty sure, talking to some of the folk in Raleigh, it's going to come down, it's going to hit. We're one of the 3, but it's going to hit everybody across. Plus, they're looking to do a whole lot of consolidation with DSS on the state level. With who knows what they're going to do. It's Raleigh. So I think that... there's your friends up there. I never got the Raleigh, thank goodness. Glad you came back, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome for the $500 million.
I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you were there. I'm glad you were there. I don't want to go there, but anyway. Now, maybe lose my train of thought. But I would think that you're going to gavel me. Ooh, they told me to gavel me. I ain't putting all my money in DSS though, because I still got my cost of living that I want to talk about. But anyway, that's. But I do think
today, hopefully.
But that's the next one to live. But I do think we need to those positions, fund those, and possibly start talking about, even if you take away some of the other vacant positions, is reclassify them into some child protective services. And I can tell you that we're losing attorneys over there. One's going to leave and go to Durham. We lost 3 to Durham. That just tells you, one of them was our head guy here who went to Durham for less, but he made more money there with less caseload. I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Let me go to Vice Chairman Jones, and I'll come back to Commissioner Patel. I'm sorry, Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you for that support, Commissioner Adams, and pretty much you said what I was going to say. And just again, knowing from personal experience, I've worked in Child Protective Services right out here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Left myself to go to Fort Bragg for one of the reasons you just stated. Unless you're going to have a GS job on Fort Bragg, it's worth the drive. I still have plenty of people I know in the profession, because the bottom line is that if you can have a caseload of 40 instead of a 200 and you really care about what you're doing, reality is the pay is still lower than what it needs to be. And, we don't have to be redundant here. He said it, I've said it. The numbers don't lie. I haven't been a social worker in over 10 years, and the rate of child abuse is still going up and up. So this is a serious business. They should be classified as first responders. I know, like I said, from hands-on experience, what it's like to knock on doors, to be out here, and I also have been a guardian lighten. With that being said, I hope that, I'm sure the manager and Brenda Jackson, she's been out there for years, she has plenty of experience, that hopefully we will put that at the safety of our community first and find a way to maybe scale back on the other first responder jobs at Public Health Department and DSS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Patel, and I'll go to Commissioner Tyson.
I apologize.
County Manager, you have something?
I would just say that as and I listened to the conversation, and we're concerned about caseload. I think as we parted, we're doing the recommended, the compensation plan or step plan or whatever we want to do, the recommendation in September, that we start looking at a caseload study and see where we are. Now, we do have the information, and we'll share this by email, of the comparable salaries for all the positions, We'll send that out after the meeting. But I think those are one of the things that we need to do, because again, like Commissioner Adams said, there are several things, and I won't say upcoming mandates that we're going to have to address, and we need to make sure that we right-size the workforce, for lack of a better term. If you want to say, we say just unfund them and take away the abolishment, it's still, we have to use that to balance the budget. But I think we still need to do some form of caseload study in order to address the needs at the state level, and also make sure that we have the right workforce and size of workforce, and then also make sure that we move forward in the future, that we can make sure that we can address the needs of the community. So again, it wasn't anything, again, those were offered. There were 41 that were not, that we unfunded, but that was in the spirit of making sure that I didn't have to make other personnel decisions that would have been detrimental to the community. Thank you.
Commissioner Patel and Commissioner Tyson. You good? Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you,
Round
Mr.
two.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess that kind of encompasses my position. Is I hear what my esteemed colleague is saying, and I don't disagree with him. But we're looking at passing a budget for June 30th for this coming fiscal year. We're not going to even get the information back, as we just heard, to get that other side of that piece from HR till October. So I agree. This is a problem that we need to fix, and we need to figure out how we can get the compensation to a level that matches the merit. But from what I'm hearing the manager say, that may mean reducing the amount of vacancy to do that. And so if we say we're going to hold the position steady, then we have to fully fund that position, whether it's hired or not. We're kind of taking some tools out of his toolbox for him to come back with us to be able to give us some ideas on how we can meet this challenge. And so that would be my comment, is as we look at the historic vacancy rate, and you can call it attrition rate, or you can call it, how many people are we actually bringing in and hiring on a fiscal year basis, however you want to call it. But I'm not saying we don't have a problem. I'm not saying that we don't need to fix the problem. But what I'm saying is, if we continue to do the same thing that we've done, and we continue to get the same result, we're not doing right by our employees or our people who need that support, need that caseload lowered. And so we have to figure out how we're going to do something different to help our employees, to make sure that we manage and that we're budgeting responsible. And that's my Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chairman Jones, round 5, and then I'll go back to Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we want to just sit up here and act like I'm not the DSS, we want to act like I'm not the DSS liaison. We want to act like I'm not Public Health Department liaison, and we want to act like I have not spoken from experience, and that's okay too. But with that being said, Mr. Greer, the direction that I'll ask you all to respectfully consider is that we did start with 61 to see about those other 41, as you just stated. I don't want that to be in place. Maybe you and Brenda Jackson can discuss that, because like I stated here, since we're going to sit and act like, let's just ignore what Vice Chair is saying, that's all right too. I want to see about, we discussed in a meeting myself, Brenda Jackson and the chairman, and so it was 61. I was told there was going to be some negotiations from that meeting that was going to be lowered, and if that can't happen, then I was told it's going to be 41 additional. So that to me is non-negotiable, and my voice will be heard for the people, regardless if anybody else wants to respect it. And with that being said, I would like for yourself and Brenda Jackson and the board to support me on that. Last time I checked, I respect everyone else's position here. I'm the only one up here that sits on the board who has worked in family services. So with that being said, no, I don't think that an additional 41, because that's what wasn't talked at the table, since we always want to talk about what's convenient, what was talked at the table. It was 61 that went to 110, because I can do math just as well as everybody else. Now I'm getting a little bit irritated here, because this is a serious situation, And I respect each one of these colleagues up here, and I respect when he's the liaison for the sheriff's department, to take that maybe that's what he knows in his lane. So we're gonna sit here, and what we're not gonna do is act like this serious situation and advice being given is just gonna be brushed under the rug. That's not what we're not gonna do. And if y'all wanna talk about me and say, oh, there she goes again, being all passionate and concerned, because it is something to be passionate about. Because I've been out there, and I know what it's like to have to go and see someone dead, okay, from child abuse. So I'm not playing with this. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to serve my community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Adams, you're next.
And
Round four.
I think we kind of all, you had me 5, I'm going down to 4, I'm going good. I think I'm hearing kind of an agreement on what we do, it's just a matter of how we get there. But I just want to be clear, first of all, if I can talk to, I got the money people. So everybody understands, an unfunded position, I mean, if you leave it vacant, you still have to account for it with the money.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
sir.
so people have to, I just want everybody to make sure, if you abolish it, then you don't have to account for it with money.
If I abolish it, it's off the books.
Right, it's
So
off the
that when
books, so- right.
Another county calls and asks us
Right.
what our comparables are.
Yeah.
Is when we can talk. If it's,
Right.
it's more in line.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, so if we abolish them, they're off the book, so you don't fund them.
Right.
So, but, and I guess talk that, this is a manager HR thing, but they can be brought back.
Yes.
So,
The board has rights.
the board,
It's a
yeah, they tell,
resolution from
to do that.
1992.
Right, so basically, out of those positions, I guess from my standpoint is which ones are critical to keep this thing moving. It may not be 61, may not be 41, but there are some components that's coming down from DC, out of that big beautiful bill that you just gonna hit. So that's critical positions. I think Child Protective Services is like a critical. So to my esteemed colleague over there, I do understand what you're talking about. It won't be till October that we do that, but we can keep those on the books and hopefully fill those positions for the Child Protective Services, for whatever that maintenance stuff is coming down from either the state or from DC on terms of the maintenance when we do all that stuff. And so which then brings you to what's critical to be able to keep and fund and go from that standpoint, whether we do it out of fund balance or whatever, but keep those, that's critical position. Now, I can't tell you what's critical. I do know I'm pushing Child Protective Services, the maintenance, might be some more, may not be any more.
APS is also,
What's that?
Brenda would also like the APS and.
I don't know what that is. See, that's what I'm.
Adult Protective Services.
Oh, okay.
Child and adult.
Yeah, but I do the child.
There's a total of
You better-
18 of the 41 that Brenda felt should remain.
Okay.
Those were CPS and APS.
And that's you all. I mean, y'all can tell that's what you do, what's critical. But I think those critical ones, to be able to keep this going, need to be funded. And then we go from there on with whatever comp study we do or those studies or workload studies to be able to do that. That would be where I am. And that's the compromise, to be able to get there, to be able to do that.
So I kind of hear two things, and I want to try to shape it so we can get some RFIs to the staff. So I hear one thing, I want to make sure we capture the 41 positions, okay? So there's 3 types of positions. We abolish it, which means we remove it. It's off our books. We have a vacant position that is funded with salary and benefits, and then we have a vacant position that is unfunded without salary and benefits. So that revenue moves back to basically to the general fund. So we want to look at those 41 positions that were vacant, that were unfunded. What is the cost of what is the dollar amount? What are those positions? I think we may already have this. What are those positions and what's the cost of that? And then I think the second question to Commissioner Adams, those critical positions, and Assistant Manager Bradley alluded to them, but I think the ask would be, staff, tell us what those critical positions are, working with Director Jackson and Director in, I guess,
The health department.
in the health department. and the director of the health department to give us those critical positions. Is it those 18? And then what's the cost to, those would be vacant and funded, and what's the cost of those? And that would give us two numbers. That would go in our parking lot. So as we're making decisions around the use of fund balance, which is our board's prerogative, we would determine how we would use it. And we would determine how we would fund those positions. But we would take those two numbers and put them in the parking lot. So two numbers, board, hopefully you're following me. We look at the 41, to the vice chairman's point. We look at those 41 additional slots that were vacant, unfunded, and we look at the cost of those. But then we ask the staff, specifically in DSS and health department, what are the critical positions? So we heard APS and CPS, which we know, and what is the cost to, they'll be vacant because we don't have people there, but what's the cost of the, not the cost, but the salaries and benefits that would go to fund those critical positions, whether it's 18 or whatever our department heads come back to. And we would need that, we need to add that number in the parking lot. So those would be two asks.
I will add a third one. We need the operational reductions, also operational expense deductions, just in case we don't have enough fund balance, because these are recurring dollars.
Yep.
And these are recurring dollars, and fund balance is one time. And we don't know from year to year what the increase in fund balance may be, and we don't want to impact. So I'd say if there's any operational savings outside of salaries, if we can get that from social services, that would be great.
So we can give that direction as well. But I would say when we're talking about using fund balance, we're within our policy of 3%, which equates to, and why we do that, and I think why the policy was put in place before this board, is because we're going to anticipate an increase of 2 to 3% each year based on our growth, and so it matches our growth. So if we use our fund balance in one time, we're anticipating that next year that growth would be there. So I think that's the rationality, but understanding that it is recurring. So operational in both of those, and I'll go to, and I got a couple questions. I haven't asked any questions yet, but I'll go to Vice Chairman Jones, and then I'd like to ask a couple questions around from the chair on these things, because I haven't asked any yet. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, Mr. Greer, I would appreciate if yourself and Ms. Brenda Jackson, that you all would, again, try to go back to the board, back to the drawing board and work this out. As I stated, because we went from 61, I know, and I appreciate what you're saying, that then it increased to another 41, that's approximately 110 positions. And I still feel, and as my counterparts have stated, we have before, nothing has fallen down, no jobs were, the last 10 years, I guess if someone else will say it, we're gonna believe it. The last 10 years, we have used the funding balance, and nothing was cut, nothing had happened, so it is there to use. I've been sitting in meetings where it was being praised, thank God for the funding balance. Last time I checked, 2 weeks ago, thank God for the funding balance. I was hearing when we had our consultants come down here, respectfully, because I do love our educators, when they were stating that it was possible for their projects to go through. So that's my request, because again, as I stated, we all have our lane in our area. We might not like who is in what lane, but that is my lane. I've worked in that field. I understand the fund budget just as much as everybody else here. With that being said, the last 10 years, it's been used over there in other departments. Nothing filtered, fell down. So if that's what we need to do to keep first responder positions as they are classified as that, I'm sure that I'm confident in the skills of your team and that of the skills of Brenda Jackson, that you all can work it out the same way we work it out for these other departments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I think we've got that based on the direction we gave. So two pieces as we look at the personnel side. County manager, I'll give you, I think it would be beneficial we give you some latitude as well if there's another department outside of DSS or health department that you would see as critical in emergency management or wherever that may be, that you get the flexibility to bring back those critical positions. But our direction would be DSS and health department, look at those critical positions, but also look at that total 41. So a couple questions from the chair. Director Hall, do we do exit interviews?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, so can we capture kind of in that, when you bring back that report in October, can we capture some of the trends so we can see if it's compensation or what are,
Yes, sir.
the major trends on the exit interview? Okay, thank you. And then county manager, or however you want to, wherever you want to flow this over to, child protective services, those are blended funding. So not that we're adding positions, but if we end up adding positions down the road based on caseload, those are paid state, federal, and county dollars. So while we can increase them, we may not see the federal and state supplement blended funds into that. Is that correct, or how does
Generally, it's
that?
about 50 to 60%.
Can we petition back to the state and fed to expand the positions?
Not to expand the position, but that's the reimbursement rate that we get.
But if we added additional positions?
Theoretically, yes.
And I'm not saying we're doing that now, but if we look at balancing the caseload. So just a question. And then do we get, because, and I think this was brought up, I think Commissioner Jones, Vice Chairman Jones and Commissioner Adams brought this up before. When we look at us as a military community, we look at our schools and we're funded for our military students, but the impact on our DSS and our impact on our health department, is there any military-related funding that comes to the counties for reimbursement for that military child or military adults?
It's all considered child and wherever it comes from.
But based on the impact, if you look at higher levels of X, there's nothing, because on the school system, there's military child funding, and if they're not on they're not on Fort Bragg, so they're not being seen on Fort Bragg, and they're in our judicial systems, they're in our DSS, they're in our health department. We're not seeing anything.
And Mr. Chairman, it's even worse than that. Because of the way the structure is with the military, and they take out that BAQ and everything, that gets them into the health department and DSS services. But to your point, I think that the judicial system, we made that local. Judge Keever knows, because they were seeing so many, to protect those kids, they entered into some kind of MOU to be able to do that with Fort Bragg. And I don't think the feds at the national level, I think we need to talk about that with our,
And that's where I was going.
yeah,
So
with those,
if we didn't see that and weren't aware of it, then maybe that's we look at ACM Phillips, we look at our federal legislation to begin to maybe look at that as a next year kind of, or begin to have those conversations. Because I guarantee if we went to New Hanover County, we'd probably see the same thing down there, and we'd probably see the same, not New Hanover, Onslow County. But we'd probably see in Onslow County and in some other places, we'd probably see the same thing. And then my last question, ACM Shaw, you sent us a vacancy salary benefits document as one of the RFIs we sent out. There were 412 positions on that. So is that based on the recommended budget?
That was based off that day that we quoted.
So that's a snapshot, not adjusted to this budget?
Right.
Okay.
That's-
All right, because it was about $29.5 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. Make sure I don't have any other. All right, Vice Chairman Jones, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this question is either for Mr. Greer or for you, Dominique, so I want to make sure I was clear. Although budget will be over by September, classification and compensation, analyzing the workforce changes and the labor market trends, will we be starting to look at that in September is the number one question?
Yes, I got it. We'll bring that back in September. One of the things I want to make sure of is that the results of this fiscal year, and that we have funds that we can go ahead and estimate and allocate, appropriate our fund balance to bring forth and make a recommendation regarding the compensation study, caseload study, and everything regarding DSS and all employees. I do agree, as I said previously, when we look at hiring individuals, we also always do a labor market study, and then we find that we are maybe for our size and with the other top 10 counties and other areas outside of the state, that we may be a little bit out of whack, and for lack of a term, and not as competitive as when we did that study 3 years ago. And that even happens locally too, when we look at the city of Fayetteville versus county employees and hiring. A lot of times there's a disparity that we have to make up for.
And then my second question was going to be, thank you, Mr. Chairman, in regards to seeing if we can put in place, and you can work with, no doubt, Brenda Jackson, would that still be the same frame time when it comes to looking at a step plan? I know that you were stating it might take 6 months to a year for something that to be created or developed, and with that being said, I would like or request that the board would support that perhaps we could put something like that in place at least before the end of the year, or start the process.
We'll start the process in September. I think we'll have a better gauge on things around that time. Again, there's certain things that are going on at the state level and the federal level that we have to address. $2.3 million in October, starting October, and thereafter 2.9, and really don't know what the other impacts of that can be. So I need to make sure that we look at that and with DSS, with finance, and make sure that we're going in the right direction with that. Because the last thing I want to do is have a different conversation with you in October, in September, October, and say, oh, we thought we could do this, but based on this impact, federal, state, whatever, we now have to come back and have a different conversation. And so, again, in the framework of preparing the budget, recommend the budget, things like that, the goal was to make sure that I didn't have to start finding soft landings and making sure that we had positions and everything right-sized.
And thank you. I'm sure that you will find sufficient at the end of the year that allow for the state to give you other information. Thank you, Mr. Greer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Board, anything else on this piece of it? I want to try to get us through, we need to have the COLA discussion, and potentially the benefits, and we still have a short closed session. So I want to try to be respectful of time. We said 3 to 5, so 2 to 2.5 hours. We'll try to be out of here at 5:30. And I know the COLA discussion is going to be a conversation. What's that?
No, don't give me one. We're
Y'all
good.
can go.
Keep moving. Keep moving.
You guys can go have a drink.
He got to be out here by 6.
Chairman.
We're going to be out of here at 5:30.
Let me clarify one thing. What I want to bring back in September is the start.
Oh, hey, hold, can we get order so we can get County Manager Greer give us his last comment before we start shifting around? Go ahead, County Manager Greer.
What I'm trying to do is start the framework to begin a new compensation study. I won't bring back a recommendation for that, but we need to have the funding because it's a large amount. To start, make sure that we have the funding so we can start that process. It would probably take a year or 6 months, but by no stretch of imagination would I be able to have that in September.
Okay, all right, let's go ahead and move to, and Vice Chairman said for us to continue. If you need to comfort, we're going to keep moving.
Go ahead.
This has not been changed in the slide. Any questions?
Yes, there's going to be questions about the COLA. So do I need to take a...
Nobody want to hear me talk anymore.
Recess.
They're tired of hearing me talk.
All right, we'll go ahead at this time and come out of recess, and we'll continue. Vice Chairman said she will be back shortly. All right, so we are at the cost of living allowance, COLA, budget recommended 2% at $2.7 million. And then there's a career development step plan for the sheriff's office. Questions around this item, and I'll open the floor. I know Commissioner Adams.
You know I do.
Oh, hold on, Commissioner Fairclough.
Is that 2%, 2.7? Is that the
2.7 million for the general fund.
What?
2.7 million for the general fund.
The general fund?
Mm-hmm.
What is it for the county?
For the other ones, what I try to do is let those departments, like solid waste, let their vacancies absorb that COLA, so that I'm not having to pull additional general fund dollars over there. I always rectify that at the end of the year. That's been the practice.
Okay, I guess my question, Mr. Chairman, if we want to have some discussion about that figure, is it a multiple of that figure that we'd be talking about, or is it a different figure?
I'm sorry, I did not hear you. I'm sorry. Please repeat your question.
Okay.
I was talking to the county manager.
I'm not sure I asked the question.
Okay.
But if we wanted to do a 1%,
Yes.
would it be half of 2.7?
Yes, it'd be 1.35.
If we wanted to increase it by 1%, it would be half of that added to
Right.
that.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure
Yes.
that's a reliable figure.
Yes, that is. Half of it, and then if he wants to add a half, just add the 2.7 plus the 1.5. Yeah.
Board, other questions? Commissioner Adams.
Now, y'all know me. 2%, we have made some tough decisions on health insurance. Health insurance went up, and what the employees pay goes up. So when we're talking about this 2%, you got to factor in that. I tell you, if you're driving down here, gas high, food high, everything's high. 2% to me is, by the time you take out the taxes and you be all of that, that's just not something we want to do with our employees. And we've been talking about the attrition rate, people leaving. We did find out, I think in our study, that it's not all about money, it's about benefits sometimes. But sometimes it is about money. And I think this time it's about money. I'm thinking 4% on the COLA, which is about 2.9 on mine. 2.9, 2.7, extra 2.9,
I'm sure
2.7.
our deputy
And so
budget performance rater has that.
it's not a multiple. I think it's whatever.
She just told me that was reliable.
Well, that's because I asked the manager before I came. I tried to check the 4% out. So.
All right, got it.
But anyway, but even if it's 4 point, what's that? 5 point, whatever.
It'll be 5.
It'd be 5.4 million.
Yeah, 5.4. And again, we were talking about the, wait a minute, what numbers up? The fund balance, so that would, there's that $8 million there, so that would be another,
Let's just put the dollar amount in the parking lot. You ain't gonna
okay.
find it yet.
All
We're gonna
right.
have that conversation.
Yes,
We're gonna
sir.
find it.
So I would like 4% for the COLA.
So that
for our-
4% increase is what dollar amount?
5.4 million.
No,
Minus-
that's a total, minus 2.7.
It'd be another
Additional
2.7.
Yeah, 2.7.
Just make sure the math is.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just thinking.
Commissioner Adams, anything else?
Well, no, but for right now, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't have anything on the sheriff's development step plan. That's. I understand he did some vacant positions, did that, so.
Okay. And board, before I turn to Commissioner Tyson, just as a point of information, so I requested some information today around the COLA to look at how we structure this around potentially a blend or use of a bonus pool, much like was done back in '23 after the change in the comp plan was put in place. And so I asked her, and staff is going to send this out to everyone. I just sent it to them today, so they'll have it for us tomorrow, I believe.
Close of business.
Close of business tomorrow. So we've got the 2% COLA is recommended, looking at a 1.5 COLA plus a bonus plan with a bonus pool of equal to 1% of the COLA. And that bonus plan would be just like it was a few years ago. It's inverted, so it's weighted towards a lower pay scale. And then the third scenario is a 1% COLA with a bonus plan with the bonus pool equal to 3% of the COLA. And then a fourth scenario is a 1% COLA and bonus plan with the bonus pool equal to 1% of the COLA that starts effective in July. And then in January of 27, move to add an additional 2% COLA. So, and that just, the rationale for that is we can do some things with the bonus. I know it's taxed at a higher rate. I understand all those things. But it's also, and I understand that if we don't move the COLA, it doesn't move employees' bases. But what my thought process around the bonus is getting us up and putting some additional dollars in our employees during this time, but being cautious as we look into the next year and what we're going to have, because we're going to see an increase in our benefit side, so it keeps our baseline lower, but it still gives a good use of one-time dollars for bonuses, and it puts money immediately with our employees that we need. So just looking at those scenarios, we don't have to discuss them now. We can discuss the concept of bonuses or not, but those are scenarios. I'm going to go to Commissioner Tyson. I'll come back to Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I would support one of those plans that you suggested with the blend of the one-time bonus with the base on the COLA, especially in light of the fact that we are going to get a presentation on our comp study from our manager coming back in October. I think that would be a wise move to do as a planning tool, and it would give us an intermediary step as we look to make those long-term plans permanent, Mr. Chair. So I would like to see that what you suggested, those three different options. And what I would ask the staff is, when they bring that back, to also identify the funding source that we're going to look at from where the blended money would come from and the regular COLA, of how that would be approached, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield that.
Commissioner Adams, recognized.
And Mr. Chairman, I do understand when you're talking about the bonus, but when we did that bonus before, it's because we had just done that comp study and everybody got increased, and we basically told the employees, we're going to do this with this bonus this year because you got all of that money, and we did that compression. So that's why we used the bonus back then. We've done a number of mechanisms. Even if you did 3% now and 1% in January, that gets you to the 4 that I like. The problem I have is this, is that I looked at the school system budget. You know, I was a big proponent last year of the supplement for the teachers, because I think if you lose a teacher out the classroom, they're gone. Not that I think that principals and assistant principals are a dime a dozen, but they're in this pipeline and you can do that. When I'm looking at their budget and they're talking about wanting to be, for where they are, to go to be the highest with 10%, and I'm going to tell my employees we're going to get them 2%. Now, we haven't gotten to their funding at the end, I know that. So, but if you look at their budget, and they're talking about 10% for principals, and then they come back at the bottom and say, give us another $400,000. We just going to use that how we use it. They don't even tell me how they're going to use it. Something's wrong with that. So I just take that money, a little bit of that money, and put it over here, and that will then take care of our employees. You got to take care of home before you start taking care of some other places. I do believe they may need a supplement, but you can't go from the bottom to the top in 1 year. That's just not feasible. I stole that from the chairman.
We're not, again, the operational dollars for the school system in the current budget, they recommended a lower amount.
Right.
So our staffs are having those conversations, so I don't anticipate them seeing those levels.
I just take the 2 from there though still.
But it's not there because the staff has already moved it down.
I just moved them down a little bit. We did what?
No, because they're not, what the school system asked for with the 10% that's a 6% increase. We saw a 2% increase.
Yes,
Our staffs are working through that, so there's not like we can move that. I hear you, but it's not like we can move that 400,000. But there's mechanisms to look at it.
There's mechanisms to look at it. So, but I
the
do
point
know.
is that you want to move to 4%.
Right. Right.
He gets credit for looking for the money, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Vice Chairman Walker, you were out. I let the board know, I'd sent an email for a request for information to look at on the COLA, kind of structuring a little bit differently. So give us a 2% number, do a 1.5 COLA with a bonus plan, with a bonus equal to 1% of the COLA, and then a couple different variations of that. On each one of those, that dollar amount to our employees would be more. It would just be a blend of bonus and COLA. So they're going to give us that information back tomorrow, and then we can have further dialogue around it. It looks like we got some consideration to want to increase the COLA.
And, Mr. Chairman, so as we get those scenarios, and I think you mentioned it, what's the tax consequences? Because you could get less based upon how you get it, so.
It depends on everybody's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't do that.
I know you can, I got two.
What you need to do is don't let the system just throw that bonus into a higher tax bracket. Spread the withholding as though you were paying it ratably over the year. That's permissible to do that. You know.
I believe we'd have to have everyone go in there and change their actual withholding, because they have that, it's come through the self-serve, whereby it picks their own withholding.
Just do it how you have to do it.
Yeah.
Just don't let it be a big windfall for the government.
Yeah, one thing, there's two options. You could try to pay it inside of payroll, and it would be the regular taxing, or if you do a separate check, it's a bonus, and then you get the higher rate of 22% of, I believe it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so we just try to pin it to where we, as long as the board's direction is to put it into a regular paycheck, so it's taxed at a regular amount.
Vice Chairman Jones, right?
That's okay. I'm in agreement, so I would like to see the cost of living allowance percentage go up, number one. I don't want to be redundant. Thank you.
We said four. I said four. They get those other options.
What were the
He's
other
gonna get
options?
four.
So we're going to see a blended rate of, we're going to see the 2%, we're going to see a 4% number, which we know what that dollar amount is. We're going to look at a 1.5% COLA plus a bonus plan, and that bonus pool is equal to 1% of your COLA, so that's above. And then another plan that shows a 1% COLA with a bonus plan with a bonus pool of a 3%, equal to 3% of the COLA. And then a fourth plan that is 1% COLA with a bonus plan of the 1% equal to the COLA in July, and then in January, we increase the COLA to 2%, another 2%. So those are just four
Different
options
options.
to look at in a way that we would blend the dollars coming into it. Input dollars, why I asked for it is because it puts dollars immediately, if we do it inside the check, it puts dollars immediately into the employees, and it still allows us to be a little bit cautious as we move forward into next year, we're already seeing sales tax continuing on decline.
Okay.
Commissioner Adams.
I guess the cost would be what the bonus would be.
So the bonus is, that's why I said equal to 1% of the COLA. So you'd have $1.3 million is the COLA, so you take that creates the bonus pool.
Right.
And then it's reverse indexed to where your lower employees are receiving a higher percentage.
I got a question.
Yes.
The bonus is going to be given once a year or twice a year, then break it up or all?
We can have that conversation once or twice a year, however we want to do it.
Okay.
I'm all for, you got to look at the tax consequences, but we don't have everybody's tax consequences. But my goal is with the bonuses, it allows us to do a little bit more, get more money in their pockets now to help them, offset some of the additional costs they're seeing on insurance or economy or those types of things. And then their overall compensation for the year has increased. Anything else we want to see on COLAs? So we got a couple due outs there, and then we'll look at the parking lot items for those and how we want to look at the additional dollars that are allocated. All right, that I think is where we're going to get to. I think it's been a healthy conversation. I know we're a little bit behind, but that's okay. I knew we were going to have a long dialogue around personnel, and we should. They're our biggest asset that we have. We need to have respectful, constructive dialogue around that, and we'll come back and do that. So I think that is a good stopping point for us. That puts us right before general fund department budget. So we'll look to adjust the schedule going forward.
And if anyone has any questions on these future slides, if you could go ahead and email them to me, I would
Yeah.
greatly appreciate it.
So again, board, we'll move this to, on the 11th, so on Thursday, we'll move into our next budget work session after our agenda session that's moved to 3 p.m. Following the med school groundbreaking at 1 p.m. So if you've got questions on the general government, public safety, or the items that we provided, fund balance, freed up capacity, please bring those forward. Also, board, I would ask that you bring your community funding page ready to go and ready to have conversations around that. I'd like us to try to build some consensus around that as much as we can. So either at that meeting or the next immediate meeting that we can come to some consensus around the community funding.
Did you email out the new list?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Adams.
And I want to thank staff for sending that questions. It was a lot of questions. Thank you all for what y'all did in such a short period of time. I just want to know, I appreciate you for doing that.
Look behind you there.
And everybody, yeah, they're back here too.
For the new community.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work that y'all did that. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully it was beneficial to everybody.
Board, any questions? Commissioner Tyson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as we move through the rest of the budget, I know you mentioned about having your sheet ready for the community funding. Are we going to go through that per organization and get consensus or a vote around that? Or what's going to be your structure around that?
I'm hopeful that there'll be some dialogue. We're going to try to find consensus at that meeting. So we'll see where the common points are. And we've got $1.4 million allocated and what we need to look at. We'll try to do it at that meeting. I'm not going to go line by line, but I think if we can find some consensus, I'll probably talk individually to you just to understand where your priorities are. If you have some priorities on it, please feel free to, email them and I can put it, aggregate them together or to Ms. Shaw, but it's really, I don't want to involve the staff in it. It's kind of our one to work through. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Staff would really like for you all to keep us out of that.
yeah, send any priority list you have to me.
You read my mind.
But we do have some things, and that's why I pulled it back with Shaw, or Assistant Manager Shaw. We do have some other things that we've got to address that weren't in the budget that maybe not fall in community funding, and so we'll have those conversations at the next meeting as well. Things like HOPE program and a couple others, as well as a couple other issues, or a couple other points. I'm not going to roll up the actions. I don't think we have any due outs left from our previous meetings. I think we've covered all the due outs, and we'll have our action list from today. We got several from today. Some of them are August and September work sessions, but we've got some due outs from here and some directions. The only thing added into the parking lot is whatever we're going to do with these additional positions as they come back. We're going to make some determinations on those, as well as the COLA / budget / bonus dollars. All right. Anything else, board, before we entertain a motion to go into closed session? All right, seeing none, Vice Chair, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters.
Yes, I move that we go into closed session for personnel, client, attorney matters, NCGS 143.11A6.
Second.
We've got a motion to go into closed second for personnel matters, then properly second. Any discussion or comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session. Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Motion to come out of closed session for client attorney privilege matters, NCGS 143.11A6.
Second.
Got a motion to come out of closed session, has been properly seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, I think it was for personnel, not attorney-client.
Yeah. That's right.
She went in, well, we did it both, but
It was, they were intertwined.
personnel matter and attorney-client privilege, A6 and A3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Just to clarify the record, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
No action for the board coming out of closed session. Just as a note for our next budget that I didn't announce earlier, we didn't address one thing in personnel. We received a request from the Board of Elections for some classification in comp, and we will move that to our parking lot based on the cost to do that and have that discussion at our next budget workshop at the top of it to close out personnel. Anything else to come before this board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Vice Chairman Jones.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been properly seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. And we're adjourned. Thank you.